My name is John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez. You know me as Popeye. I was Pablo Escobar's personal hitman for 11 years. I carried out his orders without question and killed 257 people. I became the most feared man in the cartel. But on May 15, 1992, everything changed. I received the hardest order of my life: surrender yourself. I had 6 hours to say goodbye to my freedom. 6 hours to decide what secrets I would take to prison. 6 hours to choose between saving myself by betraying Pablo or going down with him by remaining loyal. This is the story of those 6 hours. The story I never told in any interview. The story of the secret I kept for 28 years in prison. And today, I can finally reveal it. If you stay until the end, you will discover what I saw that night in 1989 that changed everything I believed about Pablo Escobar and why I chose to protect that secret even when it cost me nearly 3 decades of my life. On May 15, 1992, at 2:57 in the morning, I was sleeping in a safe house in Envigado. It wasn't my house. I never slept in my house. In this business, sleeping in the same place 2 nights in a row is a rookie mistake, and I had spent 11 years without making rookie mistakes. My phone vibrated 3 times in a row. Red code, maximum emergency. I got up immediately. In the drug trade, 3 vibrations at 3 in the morning only mean 2 things. Either a raid is coming, or the boss needs something urgent. I checked my weapon. Full magazine, safety off. I always slept with my gun next to my pillow, a habit that had saved my life at least 5 times. I walked to the public phone on the corner. I never called from the safe house. The lines could be tapped. At that time, the DEA and the search block were using American technology to track calls. 3 of our men had fallen the previous month for calling from fixed locations. I dialed the number I had memorized. It rang once. Popeye. Pablo's voice was unmistakable, even through the static. Boss, I'm here. I need you to come to the Sabanita stash house now, alone, no escorts. At this hour, boss? It's important, very important, Popeye. Bring your documents, the originals, ID, passport, everything. Something in my stomach tightened. Pablo never asked for documents unless someone had to travel far or disappear permanently. I'm on my way, I hung up. I stood under the yellow glow of the streetlight, processing. Pablo wanted to see me urgently, alone, with my documents at 3 in the morning. Either he was sending me on an important international mission, or he was sending me to hide because the authorities had identified me, or he was going to kill me. That last option always existed. In the cartel, no one was indispensable, not even the most loyal hitman, especially if that hitman knew too much, and I knew too much. I returned to the house, packed a small bag, clothes for 3 days, emergency cash hidden in the trousseau, 2 fake passports, and my favorite gun, a Sig Sauer 9mm that Pablo had given me after my first major job. Before leaving, I wrote a quick note and left it in a sealed envelope on the table. If I don't return in 24 hours, deliver this to my family. The envelope contained simple instructions: where my money was hidden, how to contact my lawyers, and a farewell letter to my mother I had written 3 years earlier and updated every 6 months. In this business, you always had to be prepared not to return. I went out onto the street. Medellin at 3 in the morning was a ghost city. Empty streets, silence broken only by stray dogs and the distant sound of a radio. I took a taxi on the main avenue. I gave him an address 3 blocks away from where I was actually going. You never gave the driver the exact address. That was another basic rule. The driver looked at me in the rearview mirror. He was an older man, maybe 60, with the tired face of someone who had worked all his life. At this hour, there's not much movement, kid. Must be something important. Work, I replied without details. We all work too much in this country, the taxi driver said resignedly. And for what? To survive one more day. I didn't respond. I didn't like unnecessary conversation. Every word you said could be remembered. Every detail you shared could be used against you. The driver seemed to understand my silence and stopped talking. The rest of the ride was quiet, only the sound of the old engine and Vallenato music playing softly. I got out 3 blocks before the destination. I paid with a large bill and didn't wait for change. The driver thanked me in surprise and drove off quickly. I walked the remaining 3 blocks, observing everything. Parked cars, lit windows, shadows in alleys. Everything seemed normal. I arrived at the Sabanita stash house at 3:35 in the morning. It was a 2-story white house with black iron gates and an unkempt front garden. It looked like a middle-class family home. No one would suspect Pablo Escobar used it for secret meetings. I knocked in the specific pattern: 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks. The door opened immediately. One of Pablo's guards, alias Topo, let me in without a word. "The boss is upstairs. He's waiting for you." I went up the stairs. Each step echoed in the silent house. My hand instinctively went to my pistol, not because I distrusted Pablo, but because it was instinct to always be ready. Pablo was sitting in a wooden chair in front of a table full of maps, documents, and cell phones. He smoked a cigarette and looked out the window toward the sleeping city of Medellin. He looked tired. Very tired. More than I had seen him in months. Dark circles, unshaven beard, wrinkled clothes. Pablo had always been meticulous about his appearance. Seeing him like this meant something very serious was happening. He turned when he heard me enter. "Popeye, my brother, thanks for coming so quickly." "Boss, any time for you." Pablo smiled slightly, that smile I had seen 1,000 times, the one he used before giving difficult orders. "Sit down." I sat in the chair in front of him. Pablo put out his cigarette and looked me straight in the eyes. "I have to ask you something very difficult, something I can only ask someone I fully trust." My heart sped up, but I kept my face neutral. "Tell me, boss. I need you to surrender." The silence that followed was absolute. For a full 3 seconds, my brain processed those 4 words. "Surrender yourself." Pablo nodded slowly. "Today, to the search block." "I don't understand, boss." Pablo stood up, walked to the window, speaking without looking at me, as if it were hard for him to say the words. "The government is pressing very hard. After the shopping mall bombing, after the plane incident, they're using unlimited resources to destroy us. They have a list of 20 people they urgently want to capture. Your name is on that list." I paused. "I know, boss. That's why I keep moving." "But there's a difference between being on the list and being on the priority list. They moved you to priority 3 days ago. That means they'll use everything to capture you. They'll follow your family. They'll offer rewards. They'll torture anyone who has seen you." "I understand the risks, boss. I always have." Pablo turned toward me. "But now there's another variable. I need someone of absolute trust inside the system, someone who can coordinate from prison, someone who knows all our codes, all our routes, all our contacts." He was asking me to be that someone. "I'm asking you to be my eyes and ears inside prison, to coordinate operations from within, to keep the structure running while I deal with this war with the government." "And how long are we talking about?" Pablo hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. 2 years, maybe 3. "Maybe more," I said, reading between the lines. "Maybe more," Pablo admitted, "but I promise I'll do everything possible to get you out quickly. I'm going to negotiate with the government. I'm going to push for reduced sentences." "I'm going to—" "Boss," I interrupted, "you don't need to promise me anything. If you need me to do this, I'll do it." Pablo looked at me with something like gratitude mixed with guilt. "That's why I trust you, Popeye, because you never question, because you understand this is bigger than any of us." He sat down again and pulled a thick envelope from the drawer. "Here are 200 million pesos for your family while you're inside. Every month, a transfer of 5 million will arrive. Your mother, your wife, your children, They won't lack anything. I took the envelope. It was heavy, probably the weight of my freedom. And there's something else, Pablo continued. When you surrender, you're going to say you acted alone, that I never gave you orders, that you made decisions on your own. Do you understand? I understand. I take responsibility for everything. Everything, Pablo repeated firmly. The executions, the attacks, the bombs, everything falls on you and you stay clean. I'll keep operating. If I manage to negotiate with the government, if I can end this war, maybe I can get you out in a year, but I need to be free to negotiate. I nodded slowly. The strategy was clear. Pablo was using me as a shield, as a scapegoat, as a necessary sacrifice to keep the cartel structure running. And strangely, I wasn't upset, because that's how the cartel worked. Pablo was the brain, and we were the pieces, and pieces were sacrificed to protect the king. But there was something Pablo didn't know, something I had discovered 3 years earlier, something I could use as a life insurance policy if things went wrong in prison. A secret about Pablo that no one else knew, a secret about something he had done in 1989. A secret that, if revealed, would not only destroy Pablo, but put dozens of innocent people at risk. And in that moment, sitting in front of the man sending me to prison, I had to make a decision. Did I tell Pablo I knew his secret and use it as leverage for better conditions? Or did I take it to prison and keep it as a last card in case Pablo betrayed me completely? I looked at Pablo, his tired face, his eyes that had witnessed too much violence, his hands that had ordered thousands of deaths. And I made my decision. I would take the secret to prison, because revealing it now wouldn't save me. It would only destroy the only genuine loyalty I had in this world of betrayal. At 9 in the morning at the search block station in El Poblado, that gave me 6 hours. Exactly 6 hours to say goodbye to my family, to settle my affairs, to prepare mentally. And after surrendering, what would happen? They would interrogate you for weeks, try to make you betray everyone. They would offer sentence reductions if you cooperated. They would pressure you in every way possible. And me, what would I say? You say what we practiced, that you acted alone, that I knew nothing of your operations, that you were freelance, that you occasionally worked for the cartel, but without direct connection to me. No one will believe that, boss. They don't need to believe it. They only need it to be the official version, because without concrete evidence linking me to you, they can't do anything, and we'll make sure there is no evidence. How? Pablo pulled out another envelope. It contained photographs, documents, recordings. Everything connecting me to him would be destroyed that day. Photos burned, documents shredded, witnesses paid to forget. So when you surrender officially, you never work directly for me. It's a good plan, I admitted. It's the only plan, and I need it to work. Because if I fall, everything falls. The cartel collapses, families are left unprotected, businesses collapse. I understand. Pablo stood up, walked toward me, and put his hands on my shoulders. Popeye, you are the most loyal soldier I've ever had. I've seen hundreds of men come and go. Some betrayed, some fled, some died. But you always stayed, always complied, always were loyal. His voice broke slightly. And now I'm asking you for the greatest sacrifice. I'm sending you to lose your freedom, and I don't know when you'll get it back. Maybe 2 years, maybe 5, maybe 10, or maybe never. Or maybe never, I said, voicing what we were both thinking. Or maybe never, he admitted. But I promise I will do everything humanly possible to get you out. I'll negotiate, I'll push, I'll move heaven and earth. I know, boss. And Popeye, thank you. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for being the kind of man impossible to find in this world of betrayal. We embraced. It was a strange embrace. Brothers, soldier and general, 2 men who knew they were in the middle of a war they would likely not win. When we separated, Pablo had tears in his eyes. Go, Say goodbye to your family, settle your affairs, and at 9 o'clock report to the search block station. Tell them you want to surrender voluntarily. They'll be waiting. I already spoke with a contact inside. Everything is arranged. Yes, boss. Popeye. Don't mention 1989. What you saw that night can never be known. My blood ran cold. Pablo knew. Pablo knew I knew his secret. The question was, since when? And why had he never mentioned it until now? I won't mention anything, boss. That night never happened. Pablo nodded. That night never happened. I left the Sabaneta stash house at 4:15 in the morning. I had 4 hours and 45 minutes of freedom and a decision to make. Would I really protect Pablo's secret or use it as insurance in prison? As I walked through the empty streets of Medellin toward my next stop, I knew the answer to that question would define not only my future, but the future of dozens of people. Because the secret I discovered in 1989 wasn't just about Pablo. It involved the government, the DEA, and people who were officially enemies of the cartel but secretly in business. And if I revealed it, not only would Pablo fall, everyone would fall. I took a deep breath of the cold morning air. 4 hours and 45 minutes, time to say goodbye to everything I knew. At 4:20, 4 hours and 40 minutes left. I called my house. My wife answered, half asleep. It's me. Oh God, John, are you okay? I'm fine, but I need you to do something. Wake the kids, get them dressed, be ready in 30 minutes. What's happening? I can't explain on the phone. Just trust me. 30 minutes. I took another taxi, this time giving the exact address. In 4 hours, I would be in custody. The city was waking up. Everything felt normal. But everything was changing for me. I arrived home at 4:50. My wife opened the door immediately. My children, David and Carolina, were confused. Are we going on a trip? No, son, not exactly. I told my wife I had to surrender. She broke down. The children cried. I explained I was going to prison. My mother, too. I told her everything. She cried silently, then told me to ask God for forgiveness. At 7:30, I left her house. At 8:15, I met Tyson, the only other man who knew the 1989 secret. We said nothing directly. We confirmed silence. We confirmed loyalty. At 8:45, I stood in front of the search block station, and I surrendered. Handcuffs closed, freedom ended, and the secret stayed with me. May 15th, 1992, 10 in the morning. The interrogation began. And so did the next 23 years of my life.